Hey everybody, welcome back to Future Insight. We got a really exciting video in store for you today. Today's video is called Leap of Faith because at some point, one time or another, we have all been there. We've all been looking to apply, and taking a new job is ultimately that. It's a leap of faith. But more specifically, for those who are thinking about joining us in a clinical training specialist position, clinical affairs training specialist, CTS for short, it truly is that. The pivot from clinic to industry is a little daunting at times, can be a little overwhelming, and there's a lot of uncertainty involved, right? So this episode is all about shining a light into what it's really like. So joining me today, I have none other than James Robinson. Welcome, James. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm really good. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So before we dive in, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, the role you're in now, and we'll go from there.
Okay. My name is James. I'm a U.S. clinical field trainer and educator. I know that's a mouthful, but say all that to say I train all of the new hires that come into the company and work with them to get them ready to go out into the field with their individual teams across the country, across the world now.
Yeah. Awesome. And how long have you been with RxSight, James?
About 3.5 years now.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Crazy. I'm sure it's gone by quickly.
It's been a whirlwind, but
Yeah.
it's been so much fun. Yeah,
Awesome.
I've really enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Well, I know firsthand, and my team knows firsthand, conducting interviews for the clinical training specialist role. I'll just refer to it as CTS. I think we all internally refer to it as CTS, but I know a lot of people in exploring those roles, they don't always think that a pivot to industry or a pivot as a clinical trainer is where they will wind up. Most of them are in the day-to-day of patient care, right? Refracting or running diagnostics. So taking it all the way back to your origin story, how did you get into ophthalmology? What led you to that clinic environment?
It was probably about 12 years ago now. I actually started off in optometry. I was working at a clinic that was inside of a mall. So very humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And luckily I had a doctor who explained everything at length. And it made me take a real interest in ophthalmology and optometry further. So once he closed his office, I had an option of either staying and working for the company that owned the office, or I could have just taken a leap and done something different. So I applied to a few different ophthalmology clinics across the country, and I wound up in Arizona.
Okay.
Just kind of threw a dart at the map to see where I'd wind up. And I was there at that practice for almost 5 years. I worked my way up from technician to refractive surgery coordinator to clinic manager. So I kind of got to clinic manager and was just wondering what was next.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've definitely heard that before, right? Those have been in clinic for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, and they think, what is next, right? What can I do beyond clinic? So for yourself, what was that moment when you started to think that industry might be something that you would want to explore a little further?
I had a really great, really passionate clinical trainer from RxSight that had come in. My trepidation all came from not wanting to feel like I was forcing something on someone. And being in industry, that was all I knew. That's what I expected, is that you were trying to peddle this product to someone. And what I realized is that the LAL in and of itself was a great product. It wasn't something that I felt like I wanted to peddle or push. And so when the opportunity came for me to start thinking about making the transition into industry, it was a very, very easy conversation to have with myself, if you will, because it was something I believed in.
Okay. So it sounds like it was really the technology. You're familiar with the company and the tech, because we hear a lot about hesitation, right? Industry can be kind of abstract, right? So what were some of the other maybe hesitations that you had about industry as a whole, or about, this role specifically?
I didn't want to be a salesperson, and all I knew, in industry was that you were mainly geared towards sales, and so that was very off-putting to me. Other than that, it was just something completely out of my comfort zone. You go from being in a pond in an environment that you completely understand, and then jumping out of the clinic and going into industry can be very intimidating. So just kind of changing your thought processes entirely.
Okay. Yeah. And I know the CTS role, although not a traditional sales role, right? It is in many ways influencing sales through education, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's more about instilling the belief in the customer about the product that you hold yourself, you know, so it's not like you're going in there. They've already decided to invest in the technology. Now you just get to go in and show them how great it is and get them to use it more.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. So thinking back to when you finally made that leap, you finally joined the company, what was training like? I mean, you're now training others. I'm sure you have a unique perspective, but for yourself, 3.5 years ago, what did those early days look like?
They were fast.
Okay.
No, they were great days. Comprehensive is the word that comes to mind. It was really, really in depth. I mean, the training has changed from 3.5 years ago to now, but the elements are still the same. We had a really great general ophthalmic overview before we moved into the technology itself. So we trained in-house for 2 weeks covering all of that. And then spent 5 weeks in the field with my team out in the West. So spent some time between Arizona and California, just traveling, not just getting to know the technology, but getting to understand what the expectations would be of me in the role, understanding what travel looked like and how to organize my schedule. Because again, I went from being completely stationary, going to the same place 5 days a week to having to mix it up a little bit and go to different clinics across different cities. So.
Okay. So it sounded like it was pretty structured, as it still pretty much is today, perhaps with some new evolution. So you went through that on-site training period, classroom style environment, I would imagine, and then more where you're like shadowing out in the field. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what was that first week of activity like? Because I know right now it's, remote type of trainings, maybe general housekeeping before you start learning the ins and outs of the technology.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. It kind of was like 3 weeks, right? Because you do have that week of virtual onboarding, which to your point just covered general housekeeping items. And then now during the first week, we cover 2 of our products. So we cover our first generation injector system and our first generation light delivery device. And then the second week, we go into the second generation for each of those things. And they get tested at the end of each week, not so much to scare them, but just to make sure that they're comfortable and to see if there are any gaps in what they were taught from me.
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of information, I'm sure, to absorb in the early days. And then what was it like? So doing that on the job training and then even thereafter, what was it like kind of being able to take those concepts and put them into practice or see them in the real world? What was that change like?
I think that was the best part of it, honestly, because you have these abstract ideas that you don't really have anything to be able to relate to. But being out on OJT, you get to relate the things you learned in the classroom to what you're seeing in the field. And you even come up with a few new things on your own and a few ways to connect the ideas that, maybe you weren't able to connect with in the classroom. That was the best part for me. Being able to get my own understanding of how things worked and being able to apply it so that way I could explain it even better.
For sure. Okay. So going through training, coming out on the other side of training, and then finally you're independent, right? I know there's a sign-off process to make sure that you can be independent. But once you are kind of flying on your own, so to speak, I get asked this question all the time, but what does it look like? What does the day-to-day look like? And I know it's difficult. I'll let you speak to it, but as best as you can, right? What does that day-to-day look like as a CTS?
Well, first, I just want to make sure everybody knows, nobody's ever on their own, really, right? Like you're out, you're in the field, but all of these teams are so great about being a support system. One of the managers out in the field says, if you stop asking questions, that means you know everything. So nobody should ever stop asking questions. But I guess bringing it all together is the way I would explain that experience. You just get to kind of bring all the thoughts, all the ideas together and communicate that to your customers. You get to onboard new customers. It's different. It varies from day to day. There's no clean cut way to answer the question because you could start your day running lenses at 9 o'clock and then you could, wind up getting a phone call and troubleshooting with a doctor at 10 and then go to your scheduled appointment for, live case support in an OR or in a clinic by 2 o'clock. So there's a lot of variability to it, but it's fun. It's fun being on your own. That's the thing I'd like to impress the most.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the travel aspect, right? Beyond just kind of what the day-to-day looks like. My team and I, we get asked a lot about the travel demands, right? And there's no real shying away from it. It is a field-based position, right? So what does that look like in practice?
So it depends on your region. Where I was, there was a lot of driving involved. So it's just kind of coordinating your schedule so that way you have enough time to drive between sites. In a lot of other regions, there's flying or taking the train. So really schedule management and knowing how much you can fit into your day and being able to make sense of that in a way that allows you to service the customer in a timely manner, because nobody wants to be late to a site, right? So just kind of balancing that new responsibility.
Okay. Awesome. So very region specific.
Yeah,
it sounds
very
like.
region specific.
Yeah, I would imagine travel throughout Los Angeles is different than travel throughout maybe the Midwest.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. LA for sure was a lot more of being in the car versus when I was in Arizona. Sometimes I did have to fly out to cover sites.
Okay.
So
Awesome. And your role right now, what does that look like as far as the scope or how much you're traveling for your current position?
It depends. So I do like to go out and do field travel. I coordinate it with the regional directors and the regional managers just to get eyes on people and make sure that they're comfortable, see if there's anything that they feel could come differently from the inside, right? Because being removed from the field, I'm not seeing the same things I was seeing every day. So the travel is sparse, but it's meaningful.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So the training doesn't just stop after OJT on the job training. It continues throughout.
Yeah.
your lifetime.
We're always learning. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Especially here at RxSight, we're always learning about the technology. So.
Okay. Great. Well, one of the reasons I'm really excited to speak with you is your career progression, right? I mean, as you shared with us, you started as a technician in clinic for many years, pivoted to industry as a clinical trainer, and now you are ultimately the trainer of trainers, right? When I'm conducting interviews for this role, that's how I describe it. I mean, you're training everyone who's coming in, right? So, talk to me about what that career progression felt like as you were going through it, and in retrospect, was there anything that you felt prepared you for that leap into the role you're in now?
Oh man, it was wild, for lack of a better word. I mean, I had spent the majority of my time in the field as a CTS. I'd participated as an on-the-job trainer for a while, and then I also joined the sign-off team, which the sign-off team is a group of people that have been assigned by their managers to be able to go out into the field and verify that new hires are eligible to support customers on their own. So I had done that for a while, and then maybe about almost a year ago now, I was out in the field with Stephanie English, who was our previous director, and she had told me that they were going to be opening up a position in RxSight University. And so, the first time around when it opened up the year before, I didn't really think it was something I was interested in. It seemed a little bit daunting, to be honest.
Sure.
But something about this opportunity just told me to go for it. I'd had a little more time under my belt on the sign-off team and through the OJT process, and I just felt like I wanted to be able to give back more, to contribute, and to train on a larger scale because I enjoyed it so much within my own team.
Yeah. So now that you're training others, right? What does that feel like to you? Like how does that impact feel now that you're really shaping, people's mindset about the technology and educating them and watching them grow and flourish?
It's equal parts empowering but humbling.
Sure.
Because you want to make sure you make the best impact possible on people during the limited time that they have in the classroom. But it's nice to be able to see them go out and grow and see where they're headed. I mean, even in the short time I've been in the role, just getting to see the people I've instructed go through the sign-off process and really take ownership of their education has been really rewarding.
That's super cool. I know before we started filming this, you're just talking to me about a new CTS who you just signed off and how excited you were for them and how cool it is kind of seeing from our end, their journey through the interview and the hiring process. And then they are in your world of training and finally sign off. And now they're going to be, tending to customers on their own and really see what they can do. So that's awesome. So I'm sure many people who are watching, whether they be internal or externally, right? They are wondering, is this right for me? And hopefully that we gain some clarity here of if this is an opportunity that they may want to consider further. But if you had to, give some advice or encouragement to those who are thinking about taking that leap of faith, what would you say to them? What would you leave them with?
Don't be afraid, because every opportunity you miss is a chance you don't get back. So just don't be afraid, jump into it and embrace it. because you never know where you'll wind up. I certainly didn't think this is what I would be doing,
Yeah.
at the start of my ophthalmic journey, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. This is fun. This is what feeds me the most. So find what feeds you. I guess that's what I would say to people. Find what feeds your spirit and makes you passionate about something, and then go for it.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. In speaking with many, I know that there are many out there who are passionate about ophthalmology and eyes. So hopefully this resonated with anybody who might be watching this, because clinical training specialists, CTS, are positions we tend to have open frequently. We're constantly growing that team as we're constantly expanding. And clinical trainers internally on the headquarters side, as we continue to grow, we'll likely need more of them. So if there's any current CTS who are interested in pivoting, I mean, there will certainly be opportunities in the future to add more Jameses to our training arsenal, if you will. So James, thank you so much for joining us. Any final thoughts, comments before we wrap this up?
No, I think we get everything on the head. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you again. If any of this rings true, feel free to look at our careers page, hit apply, reach out to any one of us on LinkedIn. We'd be more than happy to provide any extra information, and hope to see you very soon. Thank you.